When music gets hard, come see Professor Lead You.
Hey guys, I'm Professor Lead Youth, and today we're going to go over major triads. Major and minor, actually, of triads. So to start with, we're just going to go over a review of a couple of intervals and identifying those intervals real quick as a basic review just before we get back into the triads. So essentially, let's start with treble clef down here. So this is a C down here, in case that's hard to tell. And then a note up here. So if we're trying to figure out what kind of triad that is, the number of the interval it is, then we're going to start with the bottom note, and we're going to take the key of the bottom note. So the bottom note is C, so we're going to take the key of C. The key of C has nothing in its key signature, so now we go to this top note. That's a G, and the G's not flat, the G's not sharp, and nothing should be sharp or flat in the key of C. So it works out, it's part of the key, so that's good. Now we need to count the amount of space in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you always start by counting the bottom note. So it's an interval of 5. And if we know our chart from before, over here, if it's a major or minor, then you use the chart accordingly, or if it's perfect. Well, 5 is a perfect interval. So we go to perfect, and since G is not flat or sharp, it's just going to be P5. If G was sharp, we go up to augmented, so then it would be an augmented fifth, or if G was flat, it would be a diminished fifth, because G is supposed to be just a G natural, essentially, in the key of C. Anyway, so again, we should pretty much know that. But that's just as like a quick review of how to figure out intervals. I'll just do another one real quick. Again, treble clef, we got a D here, going up to an E flat. So the bottom note D, we think of the key of D. The key of D, if I remember correctly, has 2 sharps, so F sharp and C sharp. So we think of, okay, E flat. Well, the only things that should be changed is F and C, because F sharp and C sharp. So the fact that E should be natural and it's not, that already raises a red flag. But E should be natural, so the fact that it's flat means we're going to go down. But now we need to figure out which chart to use. So what's the interval spacing? 1, 2. Just an interval of 2. And 2 is a major. It's just a major second. So we come to our major chart, you start at major, and since E is lowered here, we're going to go lower on our chart, which makes it minor. So this will be a minor second. So again, hopefully you guys know that. I just wanted to reiterate it just in case. So now when we get into triads, we're going to do... I probably have enough space here. So again, we're going to do treble clef. And I'm going to draw the B flat scale, concert B flat. And I'm going to give more space in that. But essentially concert B flat scale starts in C and goes up from there. Hopefully this stuff doesn't get in our way. Anyway, so alright, so now we're going to build triads off of these notes. So for the first one, it's C. So what you would see on your worksheet or something would be a triad. So you'd go up to 3 half steps, actually. Anyway, and you'd build a triad like that. Essentially, there should be 1 note space in between. So this is on a line, that means this note's on a line, and this note's on a line. So then for the next one, this one's on a space, so the next note's going to be on a space, and the next note is going to be on a space. So then basically we just continue this trend. So then this one's on a line, so the next one will be on a line, and the next one will be on a line. So this is how we make our triads. And I'll just fill out the rest of these. Wow. Essentially, you guys get the pattern. Okay. Looks a little jankety up in there, but don't worry about it. Okay, so anyway, so we'll start by analyzing the first one. So what you want to do is you want to look from the base note, or the root, I'm sorry. This note here is called the root. The bottom note is always the root. I didn't fill it in all the way. Anyway, so then you look from the root to its third, which is the third note in the triad. And you determine what is that third note. Is it a perfect third, or a major third, or a minor third? Like, now we have to figure that out. Well, it's not going to be a perfect third because there is no such thing as a perfect third. But anyway, so we have to just figure out if it's going to be a major or minor third. So, okay, so we think of the key of C, because that's a bottom note. And the key of C, this E, should it be natural, sharp, or flat? Well, the key of C has nothing in its key signature, so it should just be an E natural, which in this case it is. So it's going to be a major third. So, okay, that's good. The next part you look at is the fifth. So from the bottom note all the way up to the top note, or the fifth note. And we determine what kind of fifth is that. Well, we know it's not going to be, a major or minor fifth, because it's a perfect fifth, or the fifth note is always going to be perfect, unless it needs to be altered, like diminished or augmented. So we'll come across instances like that, don't worry. Anyway, so in this case, chances are it's going to be perfect, but just for craps and giggles, we will break it down. So again, in the key of C is G. Should G be natural? Because it's G natural, so should G be natural? Yes. So it's going to be a perfect fifth. So here's our first rule. If you have a major third, plus a perfect fifth, which is what we have here, our major third here, and the perfect fifth here, if we have both, that equals a major triad. Alright, so now we move on to the next one. So we know this one is going to be a major triad. So real quick, we'll give it its label, which is essentially you take the bottom note, which is C, because now we're thinking the key of C major, so it's going to be C, and since it's a major triad, it's going to be CM for C major. So this whole chord here is C major. If that would start on another note, then it would be, let's say D, it would be D major, as long as it's a major triad. If it's minor, you're going to do the little m, and we'll get to the other instances. Anyway, so that is C major, so I'm just going to block that off. Okay, now we go to the next one. Our bottom note is D. So that's the root. So now we're thinking of the key of D. So we look at the third here. We have to figure out if that's major or minor. So in the key of D, should F be natural? Well, the key of D has F sharp and C sharp. So in the key of D, F should be sharped in this case, but it's not. It's only a natural. So if it's lower than where it should be, because it should be sharp, so it's lower, it's natural, instead it's going to be the minor third. Again, this is just taking basics that you should already know and just expanding on them a little bit. Anyway, so this part's a minor third. Now we look at the fifth. And we figure out if it's going to be the perfect fifth or augmented or diminished. Anyway, so in the key of D, does anything happen to A, or should A be natural? Yes, it should just be natural, because the only thing affected by key of D is F sharp and C sharp. So A should just be natural, and that's all it is in this case. So it's a perfect fifth still. So this is where we come to our next section here, where if you have a minor third plus a perfect fifth, you have a minor triad. Who saw that coming? Okay, so again, as to label our triad now, we take the bottom note, which is D, and we already know this is a minor triad, so it's going to be D minor. So it's going to be the small letters, because minor's lowercase. Alrighty, and cruising along here. Next one, we look at the root note, which is E. We start with our triad. not the triad, the third in the key of E is G natural. Should G be natural? Well, if we think about it, the key of E has a lot of sharps. And if you start going through the sharps, you already figure out that G should be sharp in the key of E. And in this case, it's not, which means it's lower than where it needs to be, which means it's going to be a minor third again. Hopefully I'm not going too quick. If you guys need me to explain that further, just let me know. Anyway, so okay, so we know it's a minor third. Now we look at the fifth. And we think here, okay, key of E, B should be natural. Because even with all those sharps in the key of E, B is still the last note that would be affected on the sharp side. So, anyway, so you can go through it all in your head and go through all the sharps, but I'll just tell you B should be natural. So that means it's going to be a perfect fifth. And I'm already starting to run into our other triads here. It's all good. Anyway, so minor third and perfect fifth, which means it's going to be a minor triad. So it's going to be E minor. Hopefully you guys are starting to just kind of see the pattern here. Essentially, if it's minor and perfect, it's going to be minor. If it's major and perfect, it's going to be major. There will be other instances. Don't worry, we're going to get to them. Anyway, so the next one, just keep cruising. We got F. In the key of F, there should only be a flat. There's only one flat, and it's B flat. So A should be natural, which A is natural, so it's going to be a major third. And if you do the fifth, C should be natural in the key of F, so it's a perfect fifth. So major third, perfect fifth, it's going to be a major triad, so it's going to be F major. Take the bottom note here, which is G. I know it's going to be hard to see now because I kind of got them running too close together. Sorry about that. Anyway, so G's the bottom note. We think of the key of G only has one F. And it only has one sharp, which is F sharp. So when we think about it, this is a minor third, because key of G, just thinking, nope, totally screwed that up. It should be a major third, because as I just said, the key of G has one sharp, and so B should be natural, B is natural, so it's a major third. And then we do the top part. Yep, that's a perfect fifth as well. So again, not too difficult once you start seeing the pattern here. So now we have A as our bottom note. The key of A has 3 sharps, F, C, and G. So we already see that the C here, this C is not sharp, but it should be in the key of A. So we know that's going to be a minor third then. And then up to this E, E should be natural, which E is natural, so that's still a perfect fifth. So minor third, perfect fifth gives us A minor. So fun, right guys? Alright, this is where it gets difficult, because this one's going to just be a little bit different than everything else. So let's look at the first one. So our bottom note here is B. Now we're going to think of the key of B, which has a lot of sharps. Well, I guess it's not that many. I mean, 4 sharps. Nope. F, C, G, D, A. 5 sharps. So yeah, so it's going to have 5 sharps. So I mean, it's still a lot of sharps. Anyway, so key of B going up to D. Should D be sharp? Yeah, D should be sharp. So the fact that it's not makes it a minor third. And then we go up to this fifth here. This is a G up here. No, that should be an F. I kind of wrote it as a G, but it definitely should be an F. So in the key of B, should F be sharp? Yes. So the fact that it's not makes it lowered. So that should be a perfect interval because it's 5. And we know 5 is either perfect, augmented, or diminished. So the fact that it's not perfect, we need to go down to diminished. So this is now going to be a diminished fifth. So this is where we lead to another one of our, to add to the chart here. If you have a minor third plus a diminished fifth, I'm sure you can already guess, it's going to be a diminished triad. This is not going to be too complex to like memorize. It's not that much to it, honestly. I mean, you kind of will just start to recognize these patterns. You know, that's major, that's minor. You know, it's not going to be that difficult. Anyway, so now how we would label this is, again, we'd still take the bottom note B, but since it's diminished, it's going to be a lowercase b, and then with this little diminished sign, which is a little circle. For augmented, that would be a capital letter with a little plus. So I can already tell you this last one is the exact same thing as the first one, so we already know it's going to be C major. I mean, just because it starts on a different C doesn't matter. Everything's going to still be the same as long as there's no other accidentals in here. If there's other accidentals, then it'd be different. But it's not the same thing as the first one, so it's just going to be C major. Anyway, so yeah, so for this example, we don't have any augmented, but again, an augmented would just be like A with a plus, literally A plus. Or it just basically is going to be a capital letter with a little plus sign up here. And just so you guys know what an augmented would look like, I'm sure as you can guess, it would have, but, well, I guess a little different. Anyway, it'd be a major third with an augmented fifth. That's what the plus is. So I see why there's two pluses here, just don't get confused by that. But anyway, so this is going to be an augmented triad. If you have a major third, but the fifth interval is augmented, so it's not regular perfect, it's raised up another half step, so that would make it augmented. If you'd like to write this the other way, because that looks too strange. Anyway. Again, you should get the gist of it. You're not going to see this one too often, but you will see these three. As you can already tell from just one scale, which would seem to be the most basic scale, you already have a diminished triad in there, because it's the seventh note of the scale. Anyway, so that's essentially how we're going to determine triads from now on. I'm trying to think. I guess, yeah, you guys will probably be fine. I will give you the next quick layer, just so you know. Well, back to the seventh thing real quick, just so you know, as like a cheat for you to think about, in every major key, only major keys, the seventh will always be diminished, just so you know. All major keys, seventh will be diminished. So the fact that this is diminished obviously shouldn't be a shock at this point, because now we know. Anyway, okay, so going on to the next part of labeling these, we're just dealing with the C major scale currently, or concert B flat, doesn't really matter. So this is one way to label them: C major, D minor, E minor, F major, that kind of thing. The other way to do it is with Roman numerals. So some professors might have you do it like that. So since this is major, and it's the first note in the scale, you're going to have the Roman numeral 1, which is really just an I, and it's going to be a capital I because it's major. If it was minor, it'd be a little lowercase I. But anyway, so it's major, so it's going to be capital. This is D minor. So instead of two capital I's, because that would be major, it's minor, so we're just going to have two lowercase i's. And probably before I even continue, just in case people don't know Roman numerals, I'll kind of just write them out here real quick, because now that I think about it, some people just might not know them, which is fine, but you definitely should start getting used to them. And I'm kind of writing them a little poorly here, but I'm just trying to speed it up a little bit. And I almost forgot what the last one was. No big deal. And then the lowercase versions. Wow. Yeah, I know you can't see it too well right this second. I will scoot the paper over in a moment. But again, these are going to be pretty straightforward, nothing too confusing. with this. The whole point of music is not to totally confuse you, even though it still ends up confusing you with that kind of thing. Anyway, so if it's going to be major, it's going to be a capital Roman numeral, which is 1, 2, because it has 2 lines, 3, because it has 3 lines. Wow, how complicated is that? 4, 5. 5 is essentially V. So 4 means you're going to take 1 less than 5, so 1 before the 5, 5. And then 6 is you're going to take 5, but add 1 more to it. And then for 7, you're going to take the 5 and add 2 to it, because that makes 7. And then for 8, you're going to take the 5 and add 3 to it. So it's not too bad. So these are, their own category, so to speak, and then these are all built off of V, or 5. So 1 before 5 is 4, 1 after 5 is 6, 2 after 5 is 7, 3 after 5 is 8. So that's all for capital letters, so you only use them if it's going to be a major triad. And then if it's a minor triad, you're just going to use these little i's, which means everything's essentially separated. So all the same thing, 1 before V, but it's just going to be, it's all separated, whereas these are all connected with like the lines across. Each letter is connected with the other letter. This is separate, V-I, V-I-I. Anyway, so these will be for minor triads because they're the lowercase. Kind of like why this is a capital C because it's C major, and this is a lowercase d because it's D minor. It's the same kind of thing for these Roman numerals. So anyway, moving on. The third note in the scale, which is for E minor, means we're going to use the Roman numeral 3. And since it's minor, we're going to use the lowercase version. So we're going to do 3 separate i's. We go to our fourth note, which is F, and it's F major. So we're going to use capital letters. And for 4, which is 1 before 5. So it's going to be IV. And then the fifth note is G, and it's major, so it's just going to be a V. The 6th note is minor, so it's going to be 5 plus 1, but it's all going to be lowercase because it's minor. And then the 7th one is, let's forget the whole diminished thing for a second, but essentially it's a lowercase b, which means it's going to be the lowercase lettering essentially. So it's going to be still, it's 7, so it's going to be still the V, I, so where they're all separate and lowercase, except since it is diminished, we're going to add the little diminished sign at the end of the Roman numerals. So you know it's diminished. Augmented would be capital V, I, with everything all connected, but with the little plus up at the top. So there's 2 distinct ways you're going to know between augmented and diminished. One, the obvious way, augmented is going to have a plus, diminished is going to have a 0, or an O. I'm not quite sure what the symbol is. But also diminished will be lowercase, augmented is going to be uppercase. Same thing for if you're writing out, like, B diminished. The B is going to be lowercase, or if it was B augmented, it'd be the capital B with the plus. Anyway. And then we come back to C major, which, yeah, I might have skipped that little part. I taught you what 8 was. You actually don't need to know that. Even though it's the 8th note in the scale, it's still the same as the first one, so you don't need to know that one yet. Anywho, so you really only have to know up to 7 even in Roman numerals. Okay, so I know that was definitely a lot to throw at you, but don't worry about it. I know I also crammed just a lot in this spot, period, this space. And I was trying to talk a little quicker because I know some of my videos get a little too long. But hopefully I was able to explain it enough, and you guys went over this anyway, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Alright, so the last thing I was going to touch on... Do I want to do that? Yeah, I'll just run through one more quick thing real quick. We're done with triads for right this second. So you can finally take a breather after that. And we're just going to go back to our normal intervals. But this time, instead of me giving you 2 intervals and we have to figure out if it's major, minor, and what the number is, they're going to give you something like M3, and they're going to give you the starting note. And now you have to figure out how to finish that interval. Yeah. So, we're going to be in treble clef. So now we need to figure out where up here is going to be the rest of that interval. Well, we know it says 3 here, so we know it's going to be 3 half steps. So 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be right up here. So we know that much. But now we need to figure out, does that need to be sharp, flat, or is that just natural? Well, we look at the bottom note. It's E, so now we think of the key of E. And the key of E, should G be something other than natural? Key of E has F, C, G, and D sharp. So 4 sharps. And G should be sharp in the key of E, as I just said, F, C, and G. G should be sharp, so we're going to add the little sharp sign in front of it. Now that should be a major third interval. And if you just want to check yourself, just act like this major third is in here and think of it how you normally would and be like, oh, that's a major third. Okay, well, it matched. So that's how you know you're correct. But this is just thinking a little backwards than what we had to think of before. So as just another example, I'll do one more for you. Let's say we have A up here, and it's P5. So it's a perfect fifth. So I just like to start with the number first, so we'll do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, make sure you are counting the first note as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, so then you think A is our bottom note here. So you think of the key of A, which has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Okay, so 3 sharps. This E up here, should that be sharp, flat, natural? It should be natural in the key of A, and it is. So we just leave it how it is, and that's a perfect fifth. Nothing more to it. Some of these are going to be very straightforward. Other ones you're really going to have to finagle a little bit. I suggest you definitely start practicing with these because they're not going to go away. Even though you guys have already been tested on them, obviously you're going to see them plenty more times. And as we already know, they certainly help with all these triads because you have to know if this is going to be major or minor, the third, and you have to know if the fifth is going to be perfect, augmented, or diminished. So, anyway, so it's all going to start playing in together, so you got to make sure you know it. Alright, I think that's it for today. If you have any questions, just let me know. And good luck.